going to sit you down, and we're going to get into a demo section here at the end of this particular section, and all of the second part is all going to be demo. When you have 60 people, it's very difficult to do a workshop where all 60 people can participate in something, but we will try to give you as much variety as possible, so some of you can actually come up in here, try it, and then others can try other protocols and other modalities, all right? So what I want to do in this next section is bring a concept of the 4 pillars, bring it in through the evaluation process, and watch how easy it is to create a menu of exercises. Once you create a menu of exercises, you're off and running, okay? We're not going to get into advanced periodization today. We just simply don't have the time. What I want to do is give you as much power when you leave here to say, number one, calm you down and say, you know what, this is not that difficult. Yes, I'll learn everything, but everything I'm learning doesn't necessarily get applied. I learn it because I'm a professional. I like to know the whys of as much as possible, understanding that there's a lot of gray area, and oftentimes you got to jump through a long bridge, leap of faith. Okay? So, watch how easy this is. I think we've perfected this here. Let me see if I can put this here, kind of where everybody can see it. And I'll try to move out of the way. Can you guys see that? Okay, cool. All right. I'm going to go fast, so I'm not going to hit any one spot and stay there, but you'll get the drift. Here we have the 4 pillars. Okay? We have locomotion, we have level changes, delta means change, we have the push-pull, and we have the rotation. Now, in order for me to get a new client coming in and see how they do all this stuff and get a quick picture of how they locomote, how they change their level, I gotta locomote them or do something that looks like locomotion that can give me some good information. I gotta give them a level change. I gotta see them pushing and pulling. I gotta see them rotating. So if you have a mom whose back is aching her, you can't do an overhead squat with your mom and see why the back is the issue. What's hurting you, honey? Well, you know what? At about 4 o'clock when I'm picking up my kids and I've picked them up 37 times, my back starts to hurt. What do you have to do? See how she's picking up the kids. An overhead squat is a dysfunctional movement. How is that going to give you information on a functional exercise? The answer is it's hard. It probably won't. So what I do is I drop a medicine ball and I say, pick it up. Let me see how you do it. Well, if she does this, I'm starting to get it. I'm starting to say, you know what? Obviously, we don't have any coordination between the back, the paraspinals, the butt, and the hamstrings. If we can give her exercises that get these 3 multiple muscle systems together working in unison, I think she's going to have a better time come 6 o'clock picking up the babies. So then we have to, from here, we have to do an eval, okay? This is exercises or movements that look like these things that can give us information. General. So locomotion. What's the most common thing about locomotion? One leg at a time. So everybody in here is going to do either a one-leg balance or one-leg anterior reach. Get them on a single leg, and if they can do this, I want them doing that. And if they can do that, I want them doing this. And if they can do that, I want them doing this. And I want them doing 3, 4, 5, 10 times. Let me see your level of performance. Usually, it'll be terrible. But isn't that a wonderful thing that through such an easy exercise, I can have a huge impact on locomotion without loading them and without doing crazy stuff? It's beautiful, okay? Single leg squat would also be an option. Level changes. I got 2 level changes. I got a squat and a lunge. And I'm going to have them do each one. And if they can't do one, let me see the other. And if they can't do the other one to parallel, well, let me see a quarter squat. I want to see your capacity in those, both of those movements. That will tell me how you change direction, because the lunge is the bookends of human movement. When you change direction, you're lunging. So in every change of the directions, you'll see a lunge of some sort. Sometimes high, Sometimes you can't even see it because grandma is moving from the sink to the stove. She does this. All right? She barely moves up and down. Why? Because the forces she's generating are this big. There's no huge movement. But when you see a defensive back or a receiver move or somebody trying to steal base, where are they at? They already started this lunge. And the first thing that happens is they lunge, right? So, boom, pushing and pulling. This is where I'm going to break the rule of functional movements to see something, because you know what? I've already seen everything, especially if I choose that squat and it's a wood chop, where I can see what kind of extension they have. Shoulder flexibility, the ability of the front side to decelerate extension, the ability of the back side to decelerate flexion, and how the legs work with the hips work with the paraspinals, and the paraspinals work with the shoulders. The wood chop is the mother load, but I put it in the squatting category because it's a parallel level change. Got it? Lunge. Here, two things, the push-up and the recline pull. The push-up is a push-up. It could be on a bench, it could be on a bar, it could be on the floor. And a recline pull, it could be on those ropes, which are our favorite. You come in, you plug and play, you grab a rope, you recline back. It's kind of a reverse pull-up. It gives me the opposite information of what a push-up gives me. It's a reverse push-up, not a reverse pull-up. It's a reverse push-up. So if the push-up gives me information about pushing in the front, the recline pull gives me information about the back and pulling. It's beautiful. And then rotation, I've got two rotations that I care about. One with pivots and one with no pivots. Now watch how, so when you come in here, you do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, about 7 different movements. That takes me about 15 minutes, and it's 15 minutes. I can give you, without seeing the person, 90% of the times I can tell you what I'm going to find. Why? Because whatever the sitting position does to you, I'm going to find it. And it does the same thing to everybody. Because the sitting position is the sitting position. It's flexed. It does certain things. Okay? So, now that we have an evaluation, we got to say, what do we see? Okay? And this is the way I work, man. I work with smiley faces. That's how I can operate so quick. Because if I work with big words, 7-syllable words, and huge scientific concepts, number one, I'm here pontificating, trying to, baffle you with BS instead of impressing you with common sense. I'd rather go the other way. 2-syllable words that are very strong, okay? I like it. Then you go, all right, what the problem be? Okay, so when you look at the problem, you go like this. I wonder. Okay? So what I see, what I think the problem is, and then beautiful, here you go, look. Here's the fix it. Simple. Watch how this breaks down. You're going to go like Adam. Adam is one of my trainers that studies a lot. He's a perfectionist. He wants to know what's going to be on the exam, and if he gets underneath anything under 95, he freaks out. So I kept telling him, this is how you have to approach the exam, blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. It's all the same thing. It's like me telling you, hey, just pass the driving exam. It's the same thing. It doesn't matter if you're driving an Altima or if you're driving a Maxima. It's the same thing, but you don't get it because you want to know everything about the driving test. Just the other day, after dealing with spinal issues, ankle sprains, hip issues, poor guy, he gets all the mangled people, He does a great job. He came over and says, it's all the same thing. I go, now you understand. I'll show you why it's always the same thing. Because at the end of the day, we're going to do this no matter what the problem is. If you have a problem, you're going to hit on it by default. If you don't have a problem, you'll never have it, which is a good thing. So at the end of the day, you're going to go, so all of my training is this? I go, yeah. Well, that's boring. No, it's not. Because this has 50 million variations. And if I say a push-up, well, you can do a push-up on a medicine ball. You can do a push-up on a stability ball. Do a push-up on the floor. Do this. Do rotational push-ups, one-arm push-ups, crossover push-ups. My God, I just said it was the push-up. You got so much to choose from. It's like saying, you know what? Any musicians here? Great. How many notes do we deal with? 7 notes. Okay, is music boring? The ability to compose all the way from hip hop down to, yeah, down all the way down to the classicals, the great classical composers, still dealing with 7 notes, folks. Don't tell me that 7 notes is boring. We're going to come up with 30 or 40 exercises, and you've got about 20 variations of each. Don't tell me that with all of these toys and 150, 60 different permutations, your training should be boring. Well, how many different combinations can you do? How many different variations? So let's go. Squat. What do you guys see in the squat or in a balance? What's the first thing you look at? And it's going to stay fast and obvious. What are we looking at?
Balance. Stability.
Part of the body. When you're in here, foot, I look at the knee. Because the foot can cave in, but if the knee doesn't, that's because you have a smart butt. I'm telling you right now, that's how it occurs. That's why you can't dance sitting on your pants. Because it's the ankle's job to say, hey, butt, I just hit a rock, I'm inverting, and you know that dumbass knee, it goes wherever I go and it doesn't never ask any question. So if I'm going in, the knee's coming in. Please turn on your glutes, pull out the femur, so the knee can stay between you and we don't blow our ACL. That's called neuromuscular re-education, neuromuscular communication. Yes? Okay, so what am I looking at? I'm looking at the knee, because the knee will tell me what the butt's thinking, or if there's communication. Where can the knee go? In or out, right? Simple. If it goes in, what does it mean? I'm going to set the stage, and you're going to get the same thing all the time. Weak butt. I don't care if it's tight, if it's loose, that's all semantics. Because a tight butt doesn't want to lengthen under load. A long butt doesn't want to shorten under load. And here's the analogy you got to put on all this so you can see the real simplicity. I cast my arm this way, right, for 6 weeks. I come out of it, kind of my arm hangs like that for about 48 hours. My arm likes being like this, but it's weak because it hasn't done anything in 6 weeks. So it's weak, right? Okay. If I want to strengthen my arm, what's a good exercise? Curls. So right by default, you go, curl would be a good idea, dude. Okay, now, I want range of motion because it's like this. What do I have to do? Get it like that. Once it's there, what's the only other thing I can do? Bring it back. So does it matter if it's a short bicep or if it's casted like that, a long bicep? It doesn't matter because the movement is the same. You can't lengthen something unless you've previously contracted it. And you can't contract it unless you previously lengthen it. So at the end of the day, we're back to curls no matter what. Whether it's short and weak, long and weak, it doesn't matter. And these short, long things, those are terms that we use to kind of give you a picture, but they're not factual. Because the muscle doesn't reinsert into a shorter position because you're sitting a whole lot. It just kind of gets casted like this for 12, 14 hours out of the day. You got it? So that's the simple nature that you have to look at this. So what do we see? Knee, in or out. What do we think the problem is? Weak butt. All right? Now, give me 3 exercises for the weak butt. Now, you can give me 10, but this is the exercise. I want you to give me 1 traditional, and I want you to give me a real cool, not a circus act, a solid functional exercise that will strengthen the butt. By the way, if the evaluation movement shows you a problem, the evaluation movement is the first movement you use to fix it. So if somebody caves in at 90 degree of knee flexion, but they don't cave in at 80, a single leg squat at 80 degree of knee flexion is the first exercise you use to fix that knee deviation. You got it? That's the approach. Whatever shows you the problem has to be the first choice for the cure of the problem. Got it? All right, so number 1, I'll do this one so you can understand. Single leg, knee caving in, need a strong butt, leg press. Well, it's a functional move. 1 leg squat would be my next one. And you know, since I want to strengthen the butt, and the butt is this wonderful muscle, in more ways than one, that covers the sagittal plane, the frontal plane, the transverse plane. You know what? I'm going to give it a reaching lunge, but I'm going to go lateral. So I can flex in the sagittal plane, AB adduct in the frontal plane, and I can internally rotate in the transverse plane. And once I internally rotate, I got to come out of the internal rotation through external rotation. So it's beautiful. Got it? So I'm going to go lateral reaching lunge. And this is what I want you guys to think of as you're giving me exercises. All right? Your turn to do the next one. Squat. Let's go from the front. Let's go from the side. And let's go from the back. From the front, what's the structure that you're looking at? The easiest structure you look at? Knees. What can the knees do? Go right or go left, yes? Didn't we already handle that here? Done deal. Next issue, let's go from the side. And that's how it is. So if the knees cave in on the squat, and well, we already saw the knee cave in. We've already got a cure for it. Done. Default. You're already handling it. All right? From the side, from the bottom up. Do you see ankles come up? Sometimes on the squat. You guys never get people that do this? Okay? What do you think that is? Huh? Tight hamstrings. A lot of people say tight calves. I say weak. I never say tight. Because this muscle here could be considered tight. But it's really tight because it's weak in the lengthened position. So if I strengthen it, I automatically lengthen it. You got it? So I don't see tight as a flexibility issue, I don't see tight as a flexibility issue that should be handled through static stretching. I see tightness secondary to weakness that needs to be handled through a full functional range of motion. So if you're functionally training through its full functional range of motion, not anatomical range of motion, two separate things. Okay? Knee flexes to 135 degrees. I don't recommend you exercise the knee to 135 degrees, especially loaded. Got it? So you have to think, is it anatomical range of motion that I'm working, or is it functional range of motion? Sometimes the functional range of motion is greater than the anatomical, but it's done through momentum. Okay? So, from here, heels up. Heels up. If the heels up, weak, heels. One traditional exercise for the heels. Come on, give it to me. Go. Calf raises. One exercise, cool exercise for the back of the ankle. Calves. Functional. I'll give it to you. An anterior reach. Look, if I'm going here, anterior reach, my knee has to go forward. By reaching forward, my entire weight goes forward. My entire weight goes forward. The reference point is right here at the heel. Everything is going forward, and if you're that soleus, if you're that posterior tib, and you're coming around the heel and you attach to the tibia, and you see all that weight going forward, what are you doing? You're slamming on the brakes here. You're going, easy, bring it back. Easy, bring it back. You're getting strong. So I go one leg, anterior reach. Got it? Give me one more. One more. Anything. Guys. Huh? Hopping? Skip rope. Of any type. Hopping, skip rope, you know, little things like that. All right? Okay, now we go. The knee is forward. Remember, don't listen to the knee. You look at the knee, but don't listen to it, because it doesn't know what to say. It follows the foot, but answers to the butt. As soon as that knee goes forward, I guarantee you it's because there's no hip flexion. Nobody wants to put their butt back. So the next cure is this. Why? Because if they don't have hamstrings, butt, and paraspinals, they can't get into this position. So the knee going forward is a symptom of hamstring, butt, paraspinals. So from here, my next thing is the butt. I want to see it. Is it tucked in? Is it out? Does it give me a nice sharp edge? Or is it like, oh, tacked in like that? I'm telling you right now, look how you all sit. Posterior pelvic tilt. Everybody that you train sits the same way, so don't be surprised when they go to that sitting position and they hang out like that. Got it? So, weak butt. But didn't we handle that before? But you know what? Let's go beyond. core back. Let's give them some exercises that hit the paraspinals, the core, and the hamstrings all at the same time. I told you, squat them because this has to be the first cure. Number 2, how about glute ham or any type of extensions via a stability ball glute ham, right? So we're going to go with extensions. How about SB bridges? Okay? Weak core back. Weak core back. Let's throw one more in there. Deadlifts. Kind of a nice overall, boom. You can do Romanian deadlifts. You can do standard powerlifting deadlifts. More leg, more hips. Got it? All right, cool. We go here, now we're behind them. What we can see is the butt. The butt goes to the right or butt goes to the left because you can't see tilt in the sagittal plane from behind. You only see butts shifting like this and moving right to left. If it goes to the right, what could possibly be the problem? The answer is lots of things, and we don't care. Because you could be here till the cows come home and say, and if the shoulder does this, the kinetic chain says that the butt does this. Folks, we're going to be here forever. Look, if the butt goes to the right, to the left, up or down, one of the two butts is weak. There's an issue. All right? And yes, there's a muscular imbalance. But how are you going to deal with this muscular imbalance? And how are you going to know that the imbalance goes from natural, that we have by being right hand dominant, left hand dominant, to abnormal, meaning it's a little bit too much than we accept? Where is that line? It doesn't exist. And since it doesn't exist, any diagnosis made through that process is BS. So, until you can tell me what an appropriate imbalance is due to being one side dominant, until you can tell me what a good pattern is and where it becomes faulty, until you can give me that line, you can't give me an evaluation because there's no number. You can't tell me whether I pass or fail, only when I'm at the extremes. And you can't give me a model that's very good at the extremes and then somewhere in the middle we've got mishmash and tell me you're going to create a quantitative system. No, it's either good or really bad. And in between, I don't know. Okay, so weak butt. So if the butt's moving to the right, make it move to the left. So for example, let's say I squat. I'll give you my best side. And I'm in here all the time. Right now I just had hip arthroscopy 3 weeks ago. So I'm going to give you a little squat until right before I feel pain. Now watch what happens, because this is what happens when we have a muscular imbalance due to some trauma. Some people fall. I just had surgery. So watch what happens. Oof. There it is. You'll see that I'm tilted. I can't, because if I go square, I'm going to hurt. I have limited hip flexion here. So you see that the butt tilts and wants to go over. If you didn't know which problem my problem hip was, if you didn't know what the problem was, how could you be guaranteed, A, to hit it if there's no pain? So let's say a year from now, 2 years from now, I no longer have pain, but I have this faulty thing that I've got going on where the butt shifts. And you go, Carlos, your butt's going to the right. Then your logical thing is stay out of pain, but make it move to the left. So how would I do that? You take a medicine ball and you do an A, B, C squat. I'm going right, left, Whatever I do to the right, I do to the left. I make my butt go that way, and that way. That way, it doesn't matter which side, you're hammering all sides, all planes. The good one stays good, the bad one gets better. How good is it going to get? You don't know. You don't ever know. You just make it as good as you can make it and let the boys play on Saturday. Okay? So we go with that ABC squats. Let's hit some lateral lunges. Let's hit some sagittal plane. Here, let's use simple terms. Front lunges. Front reaching lunge. Okay? ABC squats, and we said single leg squats, anterior reaches. All of those hit each butt separately. So you've got some things that are alternating, right, left. You got some stuff that are left, right. So we got the butt covered in all planes of motion right now, right? All right, cool. So we got the squat taken care of. The lunge, folks, it's the same thing, and the only thing that changes is that side position. From the front, what can you see in the lunge? Front knee goes in and out. Where does the front knee always go? Inside. Why? The butt's checked out. It doesn't want to externally rotate and keep that femur aligned. You go from the side, what's the one thing you will see all the time in deconditioned people? They give you this one. Why? Because nobody's got long hip flexors that say, yes, stretch me all the way down to the floor. Why? Because we're sitting flexed at 90 degrees for 12, 14 hours out of the day. So I can predict with about 90% certainty what problems I'm going to see in all of these ahead of time. That's why 90% of the time I can tell you what we're going to do, because we're going to do all this. All right? So, weak core front. Notice I didn't talk about iliopsoas. I didn't talk about rectus femoris, crossing the hip joint, blah, blah, blah. Movements first, muscles second. If they don't want to lengthen the front, what do you think that person's going to be like when they try to serve a tennis ball and this doesn't work? They go like this now. And there goes the lower back, and there goes the rotator cuff, and you go, you got bad shoulders. Negative. You got hips that don't open up. And you're not using the big cannons, and you're using the little small pistols, and you're wondering why they're blowing up. So they give you the towel, and they give you the internal rotation, and send you back on the tennis court, and here goes another rotator cuff. Oh, he's got chronic shoulder issues. It's like people having chronic heart problems because they eat like crap. And their arteries are all clogged. No, you have a very normal heart and a very normal vascular system. When you put sludge in it, that's what a normal system does. It creates this cake, reduction in flow. This poor guy's being the good guy that he is, going blah, 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 blah. Sooner or later, a piece of junk goes out, clogs your brain, and you become a banana, right? So it's a normal thing, but no, these people have chronic heart problems. No, they have a chronic lifestyle problem. Same thing here, okay? You don't have a chronic shoulder. You have a core issue. You don't lengthen. So let's get some exercises that lengthen the front, load the front. We're all going to be good to go. So we go weak, core, front. Notice everything is here, look, folks. Boom, bam. Knees to sternum. It's weak front, weak back. Weak front, weak back. Why? Because when we sit, we get weak both, shorten up front, lengthen the back, you're in trouble. All right, weak core front. Give me some exercises that are good for the front. Sit-ups. I love that. Should it be bent knee, bent hips, or straight legs? Talk to me. You got to choose one. How are you going to lengthen the core up front if you bend the knees? So this is the beautiful part about how we come up with this. And the American College of Sports Medicine, of course, is leading the way. We have a problem because we have short hip flexors. They can't lengthen under load, so you can't serve. Oh, by the way, your gait is compromised because if you can't extend, then that's the only route you go. So your gait is compromised, and anything that involves loading the front, whether it's to break extension of the back or slow down extension of the back or load flexion in the front, which is one and the same, right? You can't do it with flexed hips. So now, what's our divine result to this, or divine intervention? Let's do an exercise that doesn't deal with the hip. Let's flex the hip, give them weaker hips, and by the way, let's make their upper abdominals really strong so when they serve, they can keep the small hips and try to dominate through the rectus abdominis up high and blow their lumbar spine. That's a good measure there. It's crazy. So we got to start getting back to the straight sit-ups. Because weak backs are hurt with straight sit-ups doesn't make the straight sit-up the problem. The weak back is the problem, and how are you going to do it if you don't get to the straight sit-ups? Now, does that mean you take a 60-year-old, totally deconditioned, and say, hey, Carlos says you need strong hip flexors, V-ups, because that's perfect? No, progression. You stay out of pain, nice control, little by little. So you bend their knees the first week, straighten them out a little bit the next week, straighten them out. And over 4 or 5 weeks, you get them to that nice extended position. But V-ups and straight leg sit-ups are money, folks. They said it doesn't work the abdominals, it works the hips. Yeah. And that's what works when you run, that's what works when you serve. You know, the six-pack is men's health and shape. It has nothing to do with serving tennis balls and running and everything. That's just the look, right? So up front, we got the sit-ups. We got knee tucks of all sorts. Let's go with the bridges. And here, you've already got them. Strengthen the back, lengthen the front. Beautiful, great stuff. And I'm going to throw a curve at you so you can say, wow, if all of this is in that exercise, I wonder what's in all the other exercises. Check this one because you're going to love it. Simplicity is beautiful. Staggered stance, band press. That's my topic of my PhD dissertation. We've just finished the second research study. First one has already been approved for publication with the NSCA. I'm finishing writing up the next one now. Watch. Where's the band pushing me? Boom, back. What is the braking mechanism or the stabilization mechanism that will allow me to target the chest here? Right here. It's beautiful. So isn't this the stride and gait? Okay, if I want more ankle flexibility, flat foot, more hip flexibility, more ankle. I want a little bit more tightening or stiffening of the calf muscle for forward locomotion, then I put more weight, sink, less here, but a lot more on the ankle in terms of strength, and I bring my heel up, and we're all ready. Okay, and if you want to trigger if you want to trigger the alternating pattern of gait, alternating patterns and bench. Look at my shirt. How is it stretching? The same way it stretches if I was running or walking. So now you have the anterior band press, which a lot of times is seen as a chest exercise. It's really a core exercise, and it's a locomotive exercise. Perfect. All right? Okay. Push-up. I usually go through a 7-point. We'll go through a 1-point. Watch this. Actually, we'll go through a 2-point. First thing you look at, and you're always going to see, is collapsing of the bridge. Weak core front. Add the push-ups to this. Done deal. The next thing you see is weakness in the pushing muscles. Okay? So, push-ups will take care of it. Band pressing will take care of it. Give me one more. Bench press. You got it? So bench press will take care of the chest, dips, that kind of stuff. All right? And then push-ups, all its variations, will take care of the front, along with lunging. Lunging, traditional lunging, will also take care of the front. Okay? Recline pulls, the opposite. You'll see the same thing. Weak core back. We already have the deadlifts. We already have the bridges. We now put the recline pulls here. Okay? Recline pulls down there. And what you may also see is actually weakness in the pulling musculature. So give me a couple of exercises. Lat pull down and rowing. The recline pull? No, it's a rowing motion with the upper body, but requiring stabilization of the paraspinal, glute, and hamstrings at the same time.
So you start from the right and then let yourself down.
Yes, it's
So you start.
yeah, like say if I'm doing it here. And, of course, the higher you go, the easier it is. So that's why we have those ropes hanging. That's why we have that Jungle Gym 2 hanging. So our people come in, if you're a beginner, sternum height. Boom. If you're an intermediate, kind of belly button down in here. And if you're an advanced, down at the hip. That's an advanced version. Because any lower, I'm hitting the ground. So that's kind of like how we come in, and those are the zones. Beginning, intermediate, advanced. It's easy. Plug and play, go. Seniors jump on it, or athletes jump on it. It's beautiful. And it doesn't require you to set a bar. Okay? So, where did I go? There you go. Thank you. Okay? So we're here with the recline pulls. So there's your rowing, cable rowing, dumbbell rowing, lat pull down, pull-ups, etc. Pivots. 2 types of pivots. Here, two types of rotation. One with a pivot and one with no pivot. Why would I make that distinction? The one with a pivot, what am I trying to get out of it? Just look. And if you really want to see what's happening when somebody's exercising, look at the stretch on the clothing. Don't think muscles. Look at the stretch on the clothing and see where the biggest stretch is. Where is it? What, somebody said something? Hip rotation. You don't see the shirt rotating. You see the hips rotating. Why is that so important? Because when we sit with our legs open and like this, we've got the hips already externally rotated. Are they going to want to rotate when I'm in here? No. And if they don't rotate here, what do I have to rotate to get the back way back there? The spine. Spine is not happy rotating a whole lot. It doesn't mind rotation, but you got to keep it tight. All right? How about the golf backswing? Okay? Now once I keep this knee here and bring this knee in, I've loaded both butts. But when I start going in here, all right? Look at where the stretching occurs, and you can see where the pull is. Right in here. This is the dominating hip. The core will rotate just a tad and tighten up. And when this thing goes this way, the core goes up, whoom, and it's a whip. And then imagine 6 feet away at the club head, the speed is phenomenal. And that's where you get those huge, huge speeds at moment of impact. But it starts at the hip. So this rotation will give me the obvious. Guys hate to internally rotate. We're very tight in the hips. Women, because of the way they're shaped, they're a lot looser. So if I have a golfer, if I have anybody that has to change in directions, look at the guys stealing now. They used to steal like this. Now watch the fast guys how they're stealing. Now they're in like this. Knees in, feet out. Why? They've loaded both guns to go right or left. In here, I don't have the guns loaded. They're already externally rotated. So now what I have to do is, and that gets you. That's a millisecond. You're out. So the way they go, they're in here, bring both knees in, and now they've stretched the butt out enough to engage actin and myosin at the right or closer to the right range, and they're ready to fire. Okay? Those people need internal rotation. I get internal rotation by using the pivoting. What you're going to see is a reduction in internal rotation at the hip. The cure is do rotations that pivot the foot. All rotations, band rotations, medicine ball rotations, punches with dumbbells, blah, 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 blah. So, rotations with DBs, rotations with MBs, all that pivot. The no pivot shows me core stability. And this is what we do. Plant the feet straight forward, do not move the hips. You're in here, and you move 10 o'clock, 2 o'clock. When I communicate with my trainers, they'll just say 10 o'clock 2, or they'll go 10 twos. I go, yeah, give them the 10 twos. And they know in any kind of modality, what they're going is real tight. So it's like this. And you get the stiffness of the spine, all right, that's able to transfer a lot of forces. And you get that in boxers when they're in tight. You get that when mom goes and she wants to change the keys to the right side, but has the baby, what does she do? Everything is tight in here, she goes like this, real short. Moves the baby, then she has the free hand to do anything she wants to do. So those tight rotations that are high force, quick movements are all 10 o'clock, 2 o'clock. So we go all rotations, instead of with pivots, 10 o'clock, 2 o'clock. So if we have rotations with dumbbells, or here, why don't we just put Ditto with no pivots. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. 24, normally we come up with 37 when we take a little bit longer to come up with something, because we normally ask for 5. We ask for 3. Sometimes we didn't even put a whole 3, and we still came up with 27. Now, you've got 20 different variations in each department. So let's say that you had 3, that's over 100 exercises. I'm telling you right now, I can't even remember 100 exercises. Therefore, I don't use 100 exercises. I use about 27 variations. And I only have 1 or 2 variations for each of these. So maybe in my immediate access area of my brain, I'll keep, I don't think I keep 50, but let's give it 50. 50 would be very generous. And I rotate those 50, and now I'll come up with different rep ranges. I'll come up with isometric portions of it. I'll put 2 and 2 together and come up with a different protocol. And I will plan it where I do 4 weeks of this, and then 4 weeks of that, and then 4 weeks of that. And that gives me my variation, my creativity, and my specificity. But outside of that, folks, it's PE. Real simple. You would be surprised at the simplicity that we have in this place. Everybody thinks you're the Mecca. And I think we are. May not be fact, but it's certainly my opinion. I think we are the best. We're leading the industry. That's my belief. Those are the colors that I fly, and you got to kill me for me to say otherwise. I'll go up against anybody. I'll go up against the guys who have the 60,000 square foot boxes, multiple chains. At the end of the day, you take an athlete, give me an athlete. You take a grandma, give me a grandma. I'll meet you in 3 weeks, and we'll see who's who. And I go in knowing I'm going to win. Now, I may get my ass kicked. It happens in boxing and in fighting all the time. You swear, you say, and then you get knocked out. But I'm going in there knowing that nobody outdoes us. This is what we do. No more, no less. Okay? So does that make sense from what functional training is? A movement model. Can we deny that the body does these 4 things? Can we deny that when you do these are the possible things that pop up, or the most common things that pop up? Is that deniable? Can't deny that. That we have a weak butt because we sit too much, is that deniable? That since we're sitting and locked in the sagittal plane, would it not be logical that we would be weak in the frontal and transverse plane? Is it deniable that most human movement occurs in the transverse plane? And is it deniable that these exercises are foundational, and with the proper use of them, they will make everyone better? I'm not saying it's the best. I'm just saying we'll make everyone better. Yes? Then we got the beginning of a training system. How deep into the, as they say in the, in What the Bleep Do We Know? How deep into the rabbit hole you want to go? Then we can go. We can go, and you've got volumes there of exercises. I got, I think, 2,000 exercises in the library. So we've got depth. Do we get that deep? No. This is where we stay. And we take people to world championships with this. We get people out of comas with this. And we get people out of wheelchairs with this. We get them out of the womb with this. And we put them in the tomb with this. Because I have attended several funerals of 91-year-old clients. Womb to tomb, that's our model. Get them when they're young and take them all the way to the promised land. All the way. This can do it. Does that seem reasonable? All right? Cool. Now, where are we at with time, Joycey? Okay. I would say a 5-minute break. We're starting at... Yeah, we're going to start. You got a 10-minute break. You got a 10-minute break. We went almost 15 minutes. Get a 10-minute break. Relax. We're back at 2. We're going to start workshop now. All right? The next 2 hours will be applicable and program design.